Christmas on Cambridge Radio. A reworking of the Nativity story, and it's far from cosy. Sean Lang's Do Not Be Afraid sees a baby born in a motel garage, sleeping not in a manger, but in a cardboard box.
Oh no! No, not now.
What is it?
Contraction.
Get out, now!
For God's sake, get her a chair! We're not moving.
Hey, what's going on? Oh my God! Get her a chair!
She can't have it here!
Do Not Be Afraid online whenever you want, and Christmas Eve at 7 on Cambridge Radio.
Cambridge Film Show.
Cambridge Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Cambridge Film Show. I'm Luke Irwin, and joining me in taking the host's reins today is Emma Marchant.
Hello!
Together we'll be guiding you through our usual guide to the latest movie releases on the big screen and small. This is our last show before Christmas, and right on cue, our beloved saviour JC has come to save us from cinematic sin. Yes, James Cameron is back, and he's brought us the third film in the Avatar series, Fire and Ash. And helping us to discuss that film, as well as the week's other releases, we're joined in the studio by three wise men who know a thing or two about following the Hollywood stars. It's hello to Lorcan O'Neill.
Hello.
Matt Taylor.
Hello.
And Stewart Paske.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to have you with us today. The question is whether you'll be bestowing gold to Mr. Cameron, and if so, perhaps it'll be frankincense for our new costume drama spoof Fackham Hall, and an indifferent myrrh to a torrent of Christmas rom-coms.
Right, and it's a big week for streamers too. Netflix keeps its commercial dollars running with its third part of the Knives Out franchise, Wake Up Dead Man. And Netflix also ensures we're never going to culturally rest again, or at least review anything on this show that's not from Netflix without their say-so, with Noah Baumbach's George Clooney vehicle J. Kelly, and also the elegaic Pacific Northwest poem Train Dreams. We do turn away from the beast that is Netflix, though, to bring you Sky Originals' Christmas charmer Tinsel Town, Amazon's pet love affair Merv, and even a Hallmark treat in Hollywood Touchdown, A Bill's Love Story.
But we get started today with Avatar, Fire and Ash.
Your goddess has no dominion here.
We are now 16 years into this wild Avatar ride, a film series that has consistently pushed the boundaries of visual story and storytelling and cinematic technology. And what better medium than radio to discuss it? The third instalment in the series, Avatar, Fire and Ash, continues the space opera that began with Jake Sully, a former US military officer played by Sam Worthington, falling in love with the princess of an alien race during an attempted US government occupation of the distant planet. In doing so, he made an enemy of his superior, Stephen Lang's Colonel Quaritch, who has vowed revenge. In film number 3, Jake and his princess have been cast into the wilderness of this geographically wondrous planet, where they encounter a new tribe known as the Ash People. Lorcan, sequels tend to have a law of diminishing returns. Can we expect Avatar to change anything about that?
Well, it's had a pretty good opening weekend from what I've read. It's kind of a running gag where it's like the Avatar audience doesn't exist except when an Avatar film comes out. I think Avatar is not going to be the hill that I die on, but I really like that. I'm a big fan of, like, in the 90s when James Cameron was just consecutively given the highest budget to make the most expensive film, and then that let studios take huge gambles on other filmmakers like Kevin Reynolds to make Waterworld and Rennie Harlan to make Cutthroat Island. They're all bonkers, bombastic, just nuts, and I love them. And I love that James. I mean, it's an original IP, quote unquote. It's a huge, insane budget, a complete auteur blockbuster. It is the last of its kind. It is the desperate clinging remnants of the glory days of the 90s, 80s and 90s, I would say. So taking it as that, I quite enjoy it. The cast is really good. The effects are just incredible. I mean, it is ultimately this one and the last one have been very, very melodramatic, which I enjoy thoroughly. I love melodrama. I love when melodrama is kind of dropped into unusual genres, and you just kind of forget you're watching like all this just incredible like special effects work. And James Cameron, he can write a screenplay to within an inch of its life. It is meticulously plotted. Are you going to walk out with your life changed or feel anything about any of the characters? Probably not, but it's a pretty wild ride.
Yeah, I mean, so Lorcan's described it there as melodramatic. I described it as a space opera, Matt. How did you find it?
Yeah, I'd say space opera is definitely close to the mark. There's a lot of family drama with the Sully clan, which is now expanded to a whole family with children, and even an adopted child who's sort of the centre of a lot of the conflict in this, being kind of shared parentage with Colonel Quaritch as the antagonist, although this is certainly not one battle after another. I'd definitely echo Lorcan's opinion that it's amazing that it exists, and I really appreciate the fact that James Cameron gets essentially infinite money to do whatever James Cameron wants, and we are never going to see that again. Like, everything that gets made from this point on has to be attached to an existing IP. So for that reason, I'm really glad that Avatar exists. And is this going to make $3 billion? It quite possibly it will, but the act of watching it is quite boring. It's 3 hours and 20 minutes long, and I really felt all of those 3 hours and 20 minutes. And you know, I'm a fan of long sci-fi movies. I'm a big fan of the Rebel Moon double that came out last year. But this just kind of bored me. I mean, the action scenes are great. There's a good opening, sort of early action scene where there's an aerial barge that's being attacked by the Ash people, and the sort of the end battle is obviously very cinematic, but it's kind of stuff we've seen before with The Way of Water. So I don't think it was really doing enough to justify being 3 hours and 20 minutes. This could have been done in 2 hours or even 90 minutes. But, you know, you've got to respect James Cameron. He knows how to make a hit, and I think this will do very, very well.
I mean, we say we've got to respect James Cameron. I think that, I mean, I'm a huge fan of his in theory, and I think a lot of people, when they're seeing Avatar 3, possibly even 4 or 5 being made, are thinking, where's the James Cameron that had big Hollywood superstars? You think of like Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator and both True Lies, which I think is one of his real underrated gems. And of course with Avatar, it's so, I mean, I'm sure people know now, it's all computer captured performances, so it really is as much control as James Cameron can possibly have on anything. You look at we haven't even mentioned the cast of characters. We've got Sam Worthington.
It's very strange that Sam Worthington is the star of the most successful franchise of all time. I think most people would struggle to name any other movie he's in.
And it sort of ties back to around the time when the first Avatar was made, 2009. It was around the same time as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they've managed to crank out 25, 30 odd films in the time that it's taken James Cameron to make 2 of these. Are we excited for Avatar 4 in 2037, or would we, if we had enough of James Cameron now?
I'm in the camp that James Cameron is a genius. Like, there's just like the way people speak about Spielberg, like, oh yeah, Spielberg made these movies, but he ran Hollywood for like decades. Like, nothing got approved without going past Spielberg at a certain point. I think James Cameron's similar, where he is kind of the tastemaker, and you know, as he's gotten older, his skills haven't waned at all, like a lot of other filmmakers. This is a top quality cinematic experience. So I'm excited to see, as long as he puts himself, like completely devotes himself to it, he's not like co-writer and producer of a new Terminator film. As long as he's presenting it as his own product, I'm excited for whatever comes next.
But the thing is, I was excited for this, and as soon as you get that opening shot of seeing Pandora again, I just thought, wow, and then it's 2 blue people talking about things that I can't remember, and then I quickly became bored. So I think I will be excited for Avatar 4 until I start watching it.
I mean, that seem to be the way. I mean, it sort of goes back to what Lorcan said at the start, that nobody's actually interested in Avatar. Like, there's no memorable characters or dialogue or...
Well, there's a moment
pieces
in this one where the Ash Queen asks Colonel Quaritch what his name is, and I was thinking, I've watched 10 hours of this movie now and I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it feels like we've probably said Colonel Quaritch's name more in this 10-minute review than has happened in the previous 7 hours of filmmaking.
There is something nice about a big blockbuster comes out every Christmas, and it's any kind of blockbuster comes out at Christmas might not be very good, but it's a good thing to get people out and have a group experience. And the 3D I think is fantastic. I would recommend it as a cinema watch, and then you don't have to remember it afterwards.
I mean, it is worth saying because we do try and champion people going to the cinema, and this film will be big no matter what Matt or Lorcan has to say about it. I think there's only one or two other new releases, and we'll come to that later today. There's a lot of counter programming, and I think that's because they're anticipating 5, 6, 7 screenings of Avatar, and even if we're a bit bored of it, then I guess most people aren't, and I guess that's that then.
Yeah. Just a shout out to Una Chaplin, who plays the villain. She's really fantastic. She carries her scenes, and her character as the kind of villain leader of the Ash people is quite striking and carries a lot of the film really well.
Well, there we go then. That's Avatar, Fire and Ash. I see if we've got 12A, and you can catch that in one of about 70,000 screenings of The Everyman and The Light.
Okay, well, moving on from the Navi to something a little bit more down to earth, let's take a listen to the trailer for Fackham Hall.
England, 1931. Welcome to Fackham Hall, home to the Davenports.
Finally, one of our children is to be wed.
After so many years of courting, she's finally found the right cousin.
It was a different time.
National Intro!
A simpler time.
You're here for the position of hall boy, is that right?
You've brought all the wine up from the cellar.
Yes, Mom.
And closed the cellar hatch.
Right, that was Fackham Hall. This Downton Abbey spoof, just sort of listen to the title and run it together in your head for a pretty good idea of the Naked Gun style word and sight guides in store for you, brings together the great and the good of the UK acting world to give us an upstairs downstairs story of the Davenport family. I haven't seen this. I tried really hard to find a synopsis for this online, but I just had to admit defeat. So I'm going to hand over to those who have seen it. I'm going to presume there are inheritance and wedding shenanigans. Ahoy. Stewart, this is based apparently on an original idea by Jimmy Carr and his brother. Jimmy Carr appears in it and is credited along with 4 other writers, which feels like a lot of writers. Is this a coherent comedy in any way?
It's coherent in so much as the same way as the Naked Gun films. It's more of a series of gags held together thinly by a narrative, or in fact a mixture of narratives, because it's borrowed a lot of sort of tropes from that sort of era and that sort of style of television. You've got a bit of a murder mystery, you've got a bit of the old Downton Abbey sort of spoof spin, and it's it's not going to be there for something you're going to go and see the story for. You're not going for the narrative, you're going for a laugh. And laugh I did. I very much enjoyed these, gag for gag moments throughout the film, and I was chuckling and laughing, and it's just one of those things very, very similar again to Naked Gun. It was just people chuckling along in the cinema at the silly people being silly, and it was very enjoyable. It's not going to win any awards, maybe some comedy awards possibly, but not any sort of awards for filmmaking or for the height of cinematic craft. But it's just very enjoyable to see more comedy coming back to the big screen.
Fair enough. Matt, I mentioned there that there are a bunch of UK actors in this, from sort of Damian Lewis to Tom Felton from obviously best known for Harry Potter, and also a couple of international ones as well, Thomas Mackenzie, Catherine Waterston. Does the script and the film live up to this kind of talent that's on display?
I feel that the cast were kind of struggling because, as you say, it's a big name cast, but they're not necessarily big comic names, and it kind of felt a little bit like a sort of comic relief sketch where you just sort of get the big names and everyone's doing their best, but it's not. I really struggled with this. I mean, comedy's incredibly subjective, so I don't want to say it's not funny, but I will say I didn't find it funny at all. I mean, the opening gag is we sort of pan to this wonderful opulent manor with the sign that says incestus ad infinitum, and I just think, okay. And then the second gag is inside the manor, we see the bells of the rooms, and then one of the bells is for a room called the masturbatorium. And I just think that this is just not working for me at all. And, the kind of people who are going to want to see a spoof of Downton Abbey are not going to be laughing at these juvenile gags.
Quite puerile.
And I felt like every gag was kind of signposted a mile off. Like, there's a recurring joke that Damian Lewis's Lord Davenport, his 4 sons were all killed and they're named after the Beatles. And he's sort of going through a scrapbook and saying, oh, they died doing what they loved. And I was just like, okay, so the last one is going to have died doing some bizarre sex act. And it was. And I just think, oh, this is so crushingly painful. I did appreciate some parts of it. There were a few jokes that kind of worked, but mostly it was just done to death and really juvenile, really puerile, and it just rubbed me up the wrong way because I just liked looking at the nice National Trust property and thinking, did they know that's what they were signing up for?
Well, that's a good point actually. This is directed by a guy called Jim O'Hanlon, who I see is mostly known for just directing episodes of Coronation Street. So, is it a visual treat? Or is it any more? Does it just look like it was shot for television? I guess. Is there anything cinematic about it?
I mean, I think it's quite well put together. I mean, it looks like a film. It does. It's not going to win any awards for directing or anything, but it's well manufactured. It's a well polished final product,
and it's a swift running time too.
And
right?
It's a swift running time. It's about 90 minutes. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Matt? Did you enjoy The Naked Gun?
I really enjoyed Naked Gun. I think the Naked Gun
because obviously this is, I wasn't
similar.
even really aware of this until I saw a trailer, and I must admit I think I'm more likely to fall into Matt's camp than Stu's camp because the trailer really did not make me want to go. Just didn't make me want to go and see it at all. But I did enjoy The Naked Gun, and obviously there's going to be a lot of parallels drawn with this sort of farcical humour. So you did enjoy that.
It's a good contrast because Naked Gun is similar sort of rapid fire jokes, but I feel like that surprised me a lot more because there was a lot more kind of surrealism and just bizarre kind of deadpan humour, whereas in this it was just really it just felt so obvious. Like there's a couple of characters called the Bechdel twins, named after esteemed feminist Alison Bechdel, famous for the Bechdel test, where women have to talk about something other than the man to pass, and yet these two characters constantly just talk about men and wanting to get married. And I just think, okay, that's maybe funny once, but we don't need to keep cutting back to them. It's like, I get it.
Okay, but right, we're going to have to move on. But like I said, I like the fact there were two very diverse opinions there. And in a week where, as Luke's alluded to, we're going to end up with just Avatar, fire and ash everywhere. If you're looking for a cinema experience that's not Avatar, then Fackham Hall is available. It's a Certificate 15 for very strong language and obviously sex references, and it's showing at the Everyman and the Light.
And if you're not looking for a cinema release, you have an absolute cavalcade of Christmas rom-coms. So we've waited long enough. It's time to delve towards Sky Cinema for Tinsel Town.
What's next?
People don't want to hire you.
Who cares?
There is one thing: theatre in England.
You're late.
We've only got a few days to get this show on the road.
What is this, a low-rent production of Cats? Somebody call me a car!
You're a car.
How's my favorite ex-wife?
You're literally first in line for Worst Parent of the Year award.
Merry Christmas!
Mum says you're in England.
That's right, governor.
Don't do the accent.
You heard Kiefer Sutherland as Brad Mack, a washed-up Hollywood star, the jokes practically write themselves, whose last remaining offer for work is in a provincial panto in jolly old England. Tempest Flare as he clashes with the local townsfolk, featuring actors who span the globe, and that's just Rebel Wilson's accents. But will Brad learn the true meaning of Christmas in time for the big show? Lorcan, I believe you really enjoyed this one, and that's left me completely baffled. Please may you explain yourself.
What? When something's this low, I feel like you have to judge a film on what it's trying to be versus how well it accomplished that. This isn't trying to be anything other than absolute kitsch, and I found it a perfectly entertaining kitsch. I did have the flu. I was in bed, which may have aided the delirium may have aided my enjoyment. But it's directed by Chris Fogan, who's made a name for himself doing the Bank of Dave films, which I also kind of vaguely enjoy for what they are.
He also directed This Is Christmas, which I thought was an absolute charming Christmas rom-com.
Not so much here.
Yeah.
I think I thoroughly enjoyed Jack Bauer embarrassing himself. It was all very telegraphed and sappy, but I laughed well enough, and it's formulaic, but there were jokes that were well written. There were dramatic moments. I cared enough about the characters. Like Derek Jacobi's like a very sympathetic character, and Kiefer Sutherland goes on quite a sincere journey from alcoholism and being a crummy dad to embracing Christmas and kind of Sullivan's travels of learning what it is to entertain people. For all those reasons, there was nothing in it that I found disagreeable or particularly offensive or annoying or particularly not funny. It is like watching a panto, which is what it is by design, a silly romp, really. And I thought it was perfectly fine.
I'm not entirely sure I agree with you, but what I will say, Emma, is that Kiefer Sutherland is really giving it his all in this. And I think if there's one thing to enjoy, it is Kiefer Sutherland really hamming it up and having a really wonderful time.
I absolutely agree with that, but I think calling this a rom-com is just I mean, we can't we talk about rom-coms a lot in this show, and one of the biggest issues with this is the fact that we are meant to believe Kiefer Sutherland and Rebel Wilson have any kind of sexual attraction or chemistry with each other at all. I just didn't get it. I know, look, he's shaking his head at me.
I don't think it was a rom-com.
Well, okay, just a comment. I didn't laugh much either. At one point, it sort of takes a detour into like EastEnders territory with Danny Dyer sort of playing Rebel Wilson's evil ex-husband, and they almost have some kind of like Cockney fist fight in the middle of the street. Which again, Kiefer Sutherland, like you say, is so committed to this, 100% committed, as is his facial work as well, because his forehead does not move these days, and that was quite off-putting. But I just felt, again, this has got 6 writers to it. I just felt it was really confused, and I didn't feel it was a romp particularly. I just felt it was tonally kind of all over the place. Didn't really make me laugh. And I don't know if it's an attempt to kind of sell Panto to an American audience or what exactly. I just didn't think it really knew what it wanted to be at all.
That's an interesting, and I'll come to you because you saw this as well, Matt. The one thing that I guess I'm really trying to clutch at straws to find things that I did like, is that one thing I thought is this film it did capture something quite authentically British. We've seen a couple of these streamers set in England that seem to sort of fetishise living in the UK. I think of Jingle Bell Heist a couple weeks ago. I don't know if we covered it on the show. And My Oxford Year. I thought this one did feel like it was made by English people, and I'm watching it as an English person going, yes, this kind of feels like provincial England.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly enjoyed just getting a sort of explanation of what Panto is, because we sort of forget as English people how strange the concept of Panto is. I mean, I'm lucky enough to be married to an immigrant, and she finds the whole thing incredibly strange, and you just sort of don't think of all the conventions of like, oh, this is why there's a man dressed as a woman, this is why they're going to bake a cake now and make a mess of it all. So it was nice just to see that portrayed in a way that's going to be digestible for Americans, a sort of classic English pastime, and one that does a lot to support live theatre. And they sort of make known to Bradley Mack just how much it's going to cost them if the show can't go on because he pulls out. He's going to be on the hook for the $2 million in projected revenue they're going to have. So that was nice. I've sort of softened on this since we watched it together, because I was cringing at just the mostly Rebel Wilson's accent, which I think is the worst accent since Van Damme in Street Fighter. But overall, it did do enough charming things, and Kiefer Sutherland was very, very good. If only he'd been playing himself, that would have added a lot of fun to it. And I'm a big Danny Dyer fan. Great to see him doing his Cockney hard man thing. I don't know why he's up north as a Cockney, but some questions best left unanswered. Overall, I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was hating it when I watched it, and it's grown on me.
Well, there we go. So we've got sort of one it's grown on me, and then 2 quite negative reviews. So I don't know. If you like Kiefer Sutherland, then maybe give it a go. That's Tinsel Town. It's a 12A for bad language, and it's showing on Sky Cinema.
Now, we promised you a bunch of rom-coms today, so we always deliver on our promises, and let's check in with our next one, which is Merv.
You've been a miserable drip lately. No, I haven't. Really enjoying being by myself right now. I'll see you next week. I love you, bud.
Merv, are you okay?
Don't want to play fetch. Don't want cuddles.
Dogs are very sensitive to anything that throws their routine, like a breakup.
You think Merv is depressed because we broke up?
Original manic pixie dream girls Zooey Deschanel and daredevil Charlie Cox star as Anna and Russ. Russ. I can't speak today. Anna and Russ, whose breakup has led to their dog Merv to lose his mojo with their co-parenting arrangement. Russ thinks that a trip to a dog-friendly resort will be the way ahead to cheer Merv up. But then Anna also feels she needs to be there. Cue entertaining diversions, but all leading to the one question: will Russ and Anna give Merv the Christmas present he really wants and just get back together? Luke, I'm going to come to you because it's you, me and Stu on this one. Amazon Prime sometimes gives us some, we talk about this on the show quite a lot, sometimes gives us some really underrated hits. Should this be on everyone's Christmas watch list?
I mean, that very much depends on how much you like dogs. I think the film is called Merv, the dog is named Merv, and I'm here at least for Merv, and to a slightly lesser extent Zooey Deschanel, who I think she's utterly charming, and it's remarkable that she's managed to keep churning out this career playing this quirky, what was the Manic Pixie Dream girl? More like Manic Pixie Dream dog mum, I guess, in this film. I think she's a real delight. There is a real question about the premise of this film is about a dog who gets depressed. And we talked the other week about the film Good Boy and what a terrific performance the dog had in that, playing someone who was scared. And Merv in this, at no point does he look like he's anything other than having a really great time. And I think maybe it's unfair to criticise the dog's performance, but it really does undermine, when you've got at times semi-serious moments of dialogue where they're talking about this dog, how the separation is really affecting the dog, and the dog's just having the time of its life. And there is something uncanny about it that continue to throw me off.
Fair enough. Stu, I think you also headed to this for the dog, I think, because you are a fan of a dog movie and dogs in general. Am I right?
So obviously Luke here is our token rom-com master, but I do also have a soft spot for the rom-com. And when you put in a cute little fluffy dog, Zooey Deschanel, who Pixie Dream Girl, I would say adorkable, that's the word I'd go for. And also Charlie Cox, who obviously, from my heritage, is a daredevil in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and television universe and whatnot, and I just think he's great in that. So the holy trinity of things to get me to watch a film sort of came together, and I was like, this is a film for me. And
was it?
It was a film for me. I really enjoyed it. And like I say, every now and then I like a rom-com, and this had like all of the ingredients I needed to get me to sit down and watch one. And it was just a good, fun, heartfelt watch. I did think it's quite funny though that the dog is probably looking like he's been looked after very well on set, but does it look like he's having a great time? No, he's playing a clinically depressed dog. He's looking sad throughout, but that's the point.
Well, so there you go. Stu thinks that the performance of the dog was in keeping with his depressed nature.
Yeah, we could agree to disagree on that one. I just think maybe you've got a dog on a beach, you've got a dog getting a bunch of attention. I think
a dog on the beach is depressed about being on the beach, and a dog who's getting a lot of attention is depressed about that too.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I struggled with this actually because a lot of my problem with it was I didn't really buy into Zooey Deschanel and Charlie Cox as a couple, and rom-coms do sort of live or die really on whether or not you're invested in the chemistry. And while they're both perfectly likeable actors, I don't know Charlie Cox that well, but obviously Zooey Deschanel, and it fascinates me, like you said, that she's never really sort of transitioned into a big screen star, right? She did sort of New Girl, that's the sitcom she did for ages, and obviously she was in Elf and
500 Days of
Summer. That's what I was going to say. 500 Days of Summer was probably her biggest critical hit, but after that she never seems to have managed to kind of break out into big screen. Do you think they are both essentially small screen actors?
I don't know whether that's... Charlie Cox certainly, like he's doing very much charming British rom-com guy and a streamer. I'm not particularly familiar with his work. I'm aware that he's Daredevil, and there's a very odd subplot here about how he's losing his eyesight. I didn't know whether that was a knowing gag to Daredevil or not. I think so. We talk about actors aging out of mainstream roles, so maybe the time has been and gone, unfortunately, for Zooey Deschanel to be leading a mainstream film. I think she's a solid actor. I like the fact that she seems to be contractually obliged to sing in every single film. Like, there's a moment where she just breaks into song, like, oh, here's the moment where Zooey Deschanel, famed singer, has to start singing.
Well, she is a singer, isn't she? She's in actually because she has her own band, right? So I suppose maybe she is contractually obliged. So I'm getting a good vibe from you two, and you're saying yes, add this to your festive streaming watches.
Yes.
That is Merv. It's a certificate 12 for language, and it is showing on Amazon Prime.
Cambridge Radio. Christmas on Cambridge Radio. In Julian Meets the Mayor, we spend an hour in the company of Mayor of Cambridge, Councillor Dinah Pounds. From the East End of London to Longroad's Sixth Form College as a music and performing arts teacher.
My father spent his time teaching in the East End. Even though we moved out to Waltham Forest, he would go back every day to teach for all of his career.
Councillor Pounds talks to Julian Clover about her life, her work as mayor and her chosen charities.
We moved back to Romsey near Mill Road because it was the nearest I think we could find to a London street.
Julian Meets the Mayor, online whenever you want, and Christmas Day at 12 on Cambridge Radio.
This Christmas, set sail for adventure as Dick Whittington arrives in Saffron Walden. Expect fun, laughter and festive magic when pantomime returns to the stunning Saffron Hall.
It's behind you!
Featuring spectacular sets, dazzling costumes, show-stopping live music and a cat called Tommy, it's the perfect show for the whole family.
Oh, no, it isn't!
Oh, yes, it is. Dick Whittington at Saffron Hall from the 21st to the 29th of December. Book your tickets now at saffronhall.com.
This is Cambridge Radio. Cambridge Film Show.
This is Cambridge Radio.
You are listening to the Cambridge Film Show here on Cambridge Radio. With me, Emma Marchant, Luke, Stu, Matt and Lorcan. If you've missed any of your favourite shows or coverage on Cambridge Radio, then please remember you can catch up at any time. Just head to cambridge105.co.uk and search for Listen Again. It's where you'll find all our shows as well. And if you want to get in touch, then you can text us on 07919 070 490 or email us at studio@cambridge.radio. And sorry, correct my website. The website is cambridge.radio. Apologies. Right, on to our next review, and oh my lord, did you like my accent there? Benoit Blanc is back, which can only mean murder.
You're the only one on stage with the Monsignor at the time of his killing. You're the only one at that church who hated his guts.
The spirit really moved him today, huh?
So tell me, what the hell happened?
Everyone thinks I did it. I didn't do it.
This goes way beyond normal police work. This is something you and I have not experienced. A perfectly impossible crime.
This case is solvable, right?
I'm incapable of not solving a crime. Oh, you'll see.
After the ridiculous success of the first two Knives Out movies, director Rian Johnson has returned with installment number 3, Wake Up Dead Man. This time, Daniel Craig's Benoit Blanc is summoned to the sleepy town of Chimney Hollow in upstate New York where an impossible murder has happened within the local church. Adorable new priest judge, Josh O'Connor, would seem to be the prime suspect, but as we know from previous movies, nothing is quite as it seems, particularly when this sleepy gothic town has got everyone from Andrew Scott to Glenn Close to Kerry Washington with a possible motive. Lorcan. Rian Johnson seems to have hit absolute gold with these whodunits. Is it more than just Daniel Craig with a bonkers accent and the roster of massive names in every supporting cast?
Well, I'm a really big fan of Rian Johnson. Like, Brick is one of my all-time favourite films. It's just incredible. And he's a really, really good screenwriter. But the worst thing he started doing, in my opinion, is these Knives Out film, where he's just... Because he's really good at intricate plotting and having a surprise ending. And so going into a murder mystery sounds like the perfect thing for him to do, but I think it's the least interesting thing for him to do. I would like him to put his unique plotting and knack for twist endings in other genres. Like that seems to be his strength and kind of world building as well. I watched this with my partner, and by the end we were just like, well, we kind of miss watching classic murder mysteries where it's kind of a solve along. You are given all the pieces, and it's constantly like, oh, I wonder if it's this person, this person, this person. By the end of this film, there's huge plot elements that are just completely left out, not hinted at remotely. And then the last hour of the film is unraveling the mystery, and it's just characters spouting absolute nonsense in a stream of visuals that are so bizarre. It's just like there's a whole MacGuffin that you as an audience don't know about until like the last 10 minutes, and without that you can't tie anything together. Outside of that, the performances are very good. Like it's an A-list cast, and Josh O'Connor really does carry this. He is more of the main character. His character's a bit weird, though. He's a priest who likes punching people, and that doesn't really seem to get resolved at all.
Well, he doesn't like punching people. That's why he's a priest.
He's effectively, as I said, Jake Gyllenhaal from Roadhouse.
Yeah,
but rather than going and bouncing bars in the Keys to get over it, he's become a priest.
Well, at least Jakey G
Same kind of doe eyes.
Decided that his course in life was to beat up people, whereas Father Judd in this, I'm not entirely sure what he decided by the end. But Ryan Johnson, the script is well plotted, and there are certain moments where, especially when they're reviewing footage, the way Ryan Johnson handles that transition from contemporary time to kind of being in the world of the footage, I thought was very clever. And there's dramatic moments that really, really work. That kind of sweep you off your feet. But overall, I think this one was really convoluted, I thought.
Okay, Matt, Lorcan has alluded to it, and I actually said this is a really long running time. I think it's 2.5 hours, not as long as Avatar, but pretty long. Does the whole kind of reference stuff, because there are lots of references and plays to other movies, to other whodunits, very famous whodunits. Does it do enough to justify that running time?
Yeah, I think the runtime is justified, certainly more justified than it was for Avatar, because the structure of the movie is you spend the first half adding complications and then the second half unpicking them. And as I was watching it and it was getting more and more complicated and the murder was seeming more and more unsolvable, I was thinking, I'm really enjoying this, but if the ending is a cop-out, then I'm going to retroactively have not enjoyed it. But by the end, I decided I had enjoyed it, and I thought it was a really interesting crime, and the solution to it, I thought, okay, you couldn't actually figure it out yourself, but all of the clues were there and present and shown, and it did then make it come together for me. So I'm a big fan of the Knives Out movies. I think the first one's the best, the second one's slightly less good, and this one is probably in the middle. And what I thought was interesting was you get a bit more of sort of Daniel Craig's character development, because in the first two he's very much just this solver who's kind of separate from the main drama, whereas in this his kind of preconceptions about what it means to believe in something bigger than yourself are tested, and his relationship with Josh O'Connor's Father Judd was really interesting to me as they're sort of solving the crime together, but also having these kind of theological debates, and then the sort of climactic big reveal in the church I thought was really well done. So yeah, I thought it was interesting, justified its runtime. I'm intrigued to see it again, to see what else I pick up on.
Okay, Stu, we've shouted out Josh O'Connor, obviously, and Daniel Craig. Who else in this stuffed cast stood out for you?
Well, I think for me, again, I think Jeremy Renner returning for his role was pretty cool, because I think it's Jeremy Renner's first big screen appearance since his snowplow accident. So it's good to see him getting back into his craft. So that was quite fun. I quite enjoyed seeing Andrew Scott as well come along as his character there. That was very fun as well. I've not seen him in a huge deal of stuff, but again, I think he was a villain in one of the more recent Daniel Craig Bond films, if I remember correctly. Is that remember correctly, or am I mixing things up?
He was in the Mission Impossible. He's in a couple of Mission Impossibles.
Possibly. Okay. Ignore me then. But I enjoyed him all the same. Josh Brolin, of course, I really enjoyed as the sort of really unhinged priest.
Yeah, I really enjoyed him.
Yeah, and him just being so unpriestly and making Josh O'Connor, Father Judd, just increasingly uncomfortable with his inappropriate anecdotes. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was hilarious. And Jeffrey Wright as well. I did not expect to see him playing a priest in this either, but that was a pleasant surprise too. So
excellent. So you thoroughly enjoyed it, Luke. This opened in cinemas, and then obviously just 2 weeks later, I think, came to Netflix. Did you see it on the big screen? Or
I did see it on the big screen, and I think it's such a shame that Ryan Johnson struck a huge, like a $500 million deal with Netflix.
Maybe not such a shame for him.
It's terrific for him, but I think that he did not need to do that. I think these films would have done absolute gangbusters in a cinema, and Netflix is only reluctantly putting them in cinemas for about a week, so they'll be eligible for awards contention. I don't think this film should be sniffing any awards, unfortunately. I will say that I think, to agree with some of what Lorcan said, I think this film is really technically well made. Ryan Johnson is a great director. Whether he's a great writer or not, I think remains to be seen. I think it is not so much that the mystery should be solvable. I don't think that's always that's a type of murder mystery, but I think a murder mystery needs to feel fair. Like, you may have no idea how it's solved, but then when it's resolved, when it's told to you, when Benoit Blanc comes up and he does this whole big spiel, you go, of course, that makes perfect sense. And the film does not earn that at all. And I think the real issue here is the structure of this film. Whereas Rian Johnson, I think he's not really trying to make murder mysteries for the first two films. I think he's using the genre as a framework to tell a satirical story about what it's like to live in America today. The original Knives Out felt far more like a comedy about new money, and Glass Onion felt like a comedy about, the tech class. Whereas this film didn't really feel like it was about much. And I think that's where the film falls down, that the first hour or so, when you are creating all these issues with the film, I think that's where it works. Josh O'Connor and Josh Brolin have great tension on screen. But then it's as if halfway through, Rian Johnson has gone, oh yes, that's right, this is a murder mystery. And we introduce our suspects, I think about an hour and 20 minutes into the film before they're given any significant screen time or motivation. And that just does not work for me.
Some of them are not given very much screen time at all, to be honest. And it takes a long time for Daniel Craig to come into this one, I noticed. Stu, did you have a comment?
So, yeah, I was saying, going back to Andrew Scott, fact check, he was Inspector. He played Sea Inspector.
Thank you very much.
But also Jeffrey Wright was in Casino Royale, so we've got a whole plethora of Bond royalty in here.
This is very true. Do we think that, one final question, is Daniel Craig a key reason as to why this is doing so well, or do we think he just kind of fell on his feet to have a good time in these?
Personally, I think there's any number of actors who could play this role. It doesn't feel particularly Daniel Craig-ish. He's doing the exact same accent. It was in Logan Lucky. It was really unique to see him play that type of character, like a southern drawl, and then he just kind of did the same thing here. It's like, oh, but you've already done this. So I think
maybe that's his one accent that he can do.
maybe it's his Christian Bale, but I think honestly anyone could lots of different people could be in this role personally.
Okay, any closing comments? I asked you that question, by the way, about the big screen because I think that's one of the really key points. I do think this is a beautifully shot film. I have full disclosure, I fell asleep in the first two Knives Out films. I did not fall asleep in this one, but it's really, I don't get the love particularly. I just don't.
Well, on the big screen thing, it is a real shame that Netflix put these movies out so quickly, because I don't think it really adds to the Netflix brand. I mean, if you look at F1 and Apple, it took them sort of 6 months before that came on Apple TV, and that meant that when it does come on, you're sort of excited. Whereas with this, you're saying, oh, it's going to be on Netflix almost immediately, so you don't even really need to bother going to the cinema, which is a real shame because, as you say, it does benefit from that big screen experience.
And it feels like a cine-literate audience would really appreciate these films as well. And they pick actors who are fan favourites who have really good CVs and that sort of thing. So yes, I think it is a loss.
We made the mistake as well of we paused it at one point and realised we were less than halfway, and it did not improve the watching experience for us.
It is long. Okay, that is Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. It's a certificate 12A for injury, detail, threat and language, and is showing, as we said, on Netflix, but it is still at the Picture House if you do want to capture the visual glory on a big screen.
Thank you, Emma. Up next, we have another all-star Netflix film as Noah Baumbach introduces us to a Hollywood superstar who looks, sounds, and acts just like George Clooney.
I don't want to be here anymore, Jerry. I want to leave the party.
Jay Kelly, so handsome.
Look at you. You're the American dream. The last of the old movie stars.
I'm down here.
You're up there, you're down here, you're in here.
We did this together.
That was the trailer for Jay Kelly. Even his name sounds like George Clooney. But this Hollywood actor is completely different because he has grown-up children, and his strained relationship with them is at the heart of this film. Matt, you saw this one.
Mm-hmm.
This is a film that, for me, is about two things. Can a film succeed purely on close-ups of George Clooney's face? And can audiences empathise by someone consumed by regret when they have so much professional success?
I don't know. I think that's a little bit unfair. I think there is more going on here than maybe you've given it credit for. I mean, we're sort of introduced to Jay Kelly, who is, for all intents and purposes, essentially George Clooney playing himself with a slightly different personal life. And he's filming a scene, and towards the end he asks, can we go again? And that's the sort of theme that gets repeated throughout, of him always wanting to redo things to make it perfect. But then the idea is that life, you only really get one go, and you can't retry it if you're not happy with how it turned out. So I thought that was interesting, and seeing him as someone who's sort of realising that what he's dedicated his life to is perhaps not as important as something more mundane like having a good relationship with your kids. And I thought he plays it really well. And although it is incredibly self-indulgent, because we're sort of asked to feel sorry for the man who has everything and only now realizes that maybe he wants more. So that is a little bit frustrating, but I still thought it was interestingly done, and the way kind of flashbacks are woven into the narrative as sort of he'll walk through a train carriage and suddenly he's back at his first ever acting class with his ex-best friend. Yeah, it's nicely put together, just a little bit shallow, and I didn't necessarily really feel that bad for Jay Kelly, but I think it was interestingly done, and I don't regret having spent the time to watch it.
Wow, what a glowing review that was.
Well, it's 3 stars.
And
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I think Lorcan, I really wanted to like this film. Lorcan's not seen it. My apologies.
It's
Emma,
2 hours 12. I didn't watch it.
Emma.
Yes, I saw it.
Noah Baumbach has been around for a very long time. He's one of my favourite filmmakers. Going back to the likes of Kicking and Screaming, not the Will Ferrell one. But it seems like in recent years he's getting a lot more critical acclaim. You think of the likes of Marriage Story a couple of years ago, which was a huge success. How did you get on with this film?
Did he just do the adaptation of White Noise as well? Was that Noah Baumbach? Yeah. So maybe he's got a Netflix agreement as well. I really did not like this film. Unlike Matt, I feel like I'm probably most like Lorcan. Again, I didn't realise how long it was till I started watching it. I was like, oh my Lord. I just found it insufferable. I just think it is Hollywood doing their best again to say, please don't replace us with AI, because look how special and amazing actors are. We're so amazing. Look at me. We haven't even mentioned Adam Sandler, because I think when the press was coming out for this film, it's Adam Sandler who's playing sort of Jay Kelly's put-upon manager, Ron Sukanik, and there's this whole question about whether or not, is he really a friend? At the end of the day, he's just going to get 15% of all of, Jay Kelly's earnings or whatever, and he gets sacked by his one other main client in the same day that he finally calls Jay Kelly out for being an insufferably narcissistic idiot who cares for no one other than himself. George Clooney is almost like a satire of himself by this point, with that kind of like quirky, slightly quirky sort of rumpled face and little sort of self-deprecating smile or whatever. But you know what? Like you said, you're George Clooney. You're married to an international top lawyer. You have gorgeous twins and a mansion on Lake Como. And I appreciate his politics, and I appreciate him probably very much as a human being, but I just felt this film needed more. It just felt incredibly self-indulgent, and I did not care for anybody in it.
I think ironically, this film actually works in all the bits where Jay Kelly isn't in it. There's a really good supporting cast. You alluded, Matt, to there's a really nice vignette with Billy Crudup, which is
I thought that was one of the strongest scenes.
That was, but it's right at the beginning, right? So then you kind of by the end of it, you've forgotten about it almost.
And then
right.
you get a sequence of sort of someone playing a young George Clooney, which works really well. And I think for me, this film is caught between two opposite ideas. I think if you're going to have this idea of a Hollywood superstar looking back on themselves, you could lean into this and make it like a Curb Your Enthusiasm style story, where it is very literally George Clooney playing a caricature of himself. And I think that would have been a lot more thematically relevant. Like this film begins with a wonderful Sylvia Plath quote about how much courage it takes to be yourself, which is something that Jay Kelly alludes to throughout the film when people criticise him for only playing himself, which is obviously an allusion to George Clooney himself only playing himself, which works, except from George Clooney isn't playing himself in this film. There's there's George Clooney playing Jay Kelly, playing the star persona of Jay Kelly, and the film becomes far too
It's a bit like Kirk Lazarus in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah. Which I don't think we can allude too much to
I just don't
specifics there.
I just don't think it justifies the weight of those ideas either. It's a really, I think it's a very slight film. To be quite honest, and to maybe that's a bit brutal, but it's like it looks pretty.
Yeah, I think there comes a time when every neurotic filmmaker has to make a film about filmmaking. This reminded me, I've always thought that Baumbach is sort of the modern day unproblematic Woody Allen, and this is very much his Stardust Memories.
We say you've got to write what you know, right? This is what they know.
Yeah, and it seems interesting that Noah Baumbach seems to really want to make you sympathise with challenging characters. He's done that often in his filmmaking. So maybe he's writing what he knows. We can't say. Maybe there's another layer of the film that we didn't get there. Anyway, that is Jay Kelly. It is a Certificate 15, and it is showing on Netflix. And up next, the Netflix train keeps on rolling all the way to the isolated landscapes of the Pacific Northwest.
Beautiful, ain't it? What is?
I didn't think you'd be on this soon.
Well, I just couldn't stop walking until I got here.
What are you thinking about?
I was thinking that we ought to get married.
That was the trailer for Train Dreams, a drama detailing the life of a 20th century railroad construction worker. It's based on a novella by the writer and poet Dennis Johnson. And although I've not seen this one, Lorcan, who you have seen this film, it feels like one of those films that would attract superlatives like meditative and thought-provoking.
Yeah. You're right. It would. I started watching this. I didn't watch it. I started off watching this not for the show because I heard there was some buzz about a week ago. I turned it off after 3 minutes. I was like, I can't sit through this. And then I read we were going to do it on the show. So like, okay, I've already watched 5 minutes. That's just another hour 40 left to go. I think this is the type of film that makes people hate indie dramas. It's based on a book, and you can tell because literally everything is narrated. The film treats you like you're the dumbest person on the planet, that you cannot look at a shot or an image and get an emotion. It tells you how to feel, tells you how the characters are feeling, tells you what's happening, tells you what happens in the future, tells you what happens in the past, tells you what's going on at every point. And it just doesn't trust you to have like a series of images and you make like a Terrence Malick film. You have to make it up for yourself. And then overall, there's not really a big theme. It's just he's a logger, like an itinerant logger who does settle down. So he goes away for like he's doing a tour of duty. He goes around. He does his lumberjack season. He comes home, spends time with his wife and child. There's a tragedy. He feels guilty. He feels guilty about not murdering someone for a long time as well, which I found a little confusing. And then it's just, I found it really vacuous. I didn't think there was much of a connection between his story and the theme of logging, particularly. And if there was more, I'm sure the narration would have told me.
Well, there we go. Emma, you've seen this as well. Did you have a better time with this?
I think I did. Well, it'd be hard to have a worse time than that, right? I think I was the one that championed this because Lorcan did mention it stars Joel Edgerton, who I think is just one of our most underrated actors. I love Joel Edgerton to pieces, and like you said, this came with a lot of buzz. It's been incredibly well reviewed in general by critics, particularly I think Joel Edgerton's performance, and then he's backed up with Felicity Jones, who does a good line in sort of, Devoted Wives, shall we say, but with an inner steel. I'd be interested to read the novella because I guess it is very much based on that, and that is apparently beloved, and so maybe a lot of this sort of explanation, it's narrated as well also by Will Patton, who I didn't realise it was Will Patton until the very end, and he has a wonderful narration voice, and it is a very good looking film. It shoots the Pacific Northwest very beautifully, very dreamlike, very trance-like. But I have to agree with Lorcan. No, it's not the most sort of engaging, emotionally. I thought I'd be more emotionally engaged.
Yeah, I mean, Lorcan's alluded to Terrence Malick there, and we've sort of referenced the novella. It was interesting to see Dennis Johnson having a book adapted because he's considered such a poetic writer. He's always a writer of great prose, and I'm guessing that's not really transposed into being a writer of or a visually interesting story.
Well, that's with very rare exception, I would say that if you're watching an adaptation of a novel and there's narration, turn it off because it's just lazy. I don't understand how you can read a book and be like, oh, I can bring this prose to life with my visuals, or I'll just get Will Patton to read the book to me like an audiobook. It's a very well shot film. I say this a lot about Chris Nolan films as well. It's very well shot. It's not very well directed.
Oof. Well, there we go then. That is Train Dreams, a certificate 12, and it is showing on Netflix, but it is still showing at the Picture House for limited few screenings this week.
Okay, for our last movie, let's look at Love, Santa Magic, and American football in Holiday Touchdown.
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills! Hallmark Channel and the NFL are back on the field with a new holiday matchup. Holiday Touchdown, a Bills love story.
On with the rom-coms, but this time it's sports-based and Hallmark. What a holy combo. Holland Roden and Matthew Daddario play Morgan and Gabe, best friends who've lived almost in the shade of their beloved Bills stadium next door to each other for decades. But what is this? It's patently obvious to everyone that Gabe is desperately in love with Morgan. apart from Morgan Natch. Maybe a secret mission to find out who is sending Morgan's uncle, Joe Pantoliano, a Christmas gift every year will work its matchmaking magic. Luke, hello rom-com expert, but please, as a football fan and a rom-com fan, tell me what made you give this 4 out of 5?
I told Emma that I absolutely adored this film, and I think there's a picture of a Venn diagram with one circle which is Hallmark trash, and the other circle is NFL cameos, and there's a very tiny slither in the middle where it's as if they've made a film that's just for me. I thought this film was so much fun. So this is a unconnected sequel to Holiday Touchdown, a Chiefs love story. You don't need to have seen that film to have got this one, and I don't think you necessarily need to like the NFL to get this one. It was fun for me, like going, wow, there's Scott Norwood, there's Sean McDermott.
Are you a Bills fan?
No, okay. I'm a Chicago Bears fan.
Okay, just
for my sins, but. For me, the real joy of this film was Holland Roden as the lead. All of these Hallmark films, they rely on a perky young woman who's, just finds everything charming, and that can be really insufferable. And I thought that she was a real delight in this film. And I thought it had a really interesting message. Like, a lot of Hallmark films end up being quite politically contentious because they tend to prop up a kind of conservative ideology of people who live in big cities and are liberal and wrong, and people should go and live in the country, and women should bake cakes and look after their men. Whereas this film does something very different. It tells a story about regret and not wanting to leave it too long to tell someone how you really feel. And I thought that was really sweet. And you get 2 versions of the story, one with Holland Roden and one with Matthew Daddario, and one with Joe Pantoliano and his mystery sender. And I thought the 2 strands worked together really well, and I was utterly charmed by it. And I don't feel bad about that one bit.
You shouldn't feel bad about it. Matt had, just because I didn't finish it, that doesn't count for anything. Matt, we've got literally maybe 40 seconds. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was fine for what it is. The central pairing had great chemistry. Holland Roden, I've not seen her in anything other than the Teen Wolf Show, which she played a banshee. She was very fun in this. It's kind of implausible that they could go this long without realising they're in love. But yeah, it's a Hallmark movie, so it looks cheap. Lots of fade to black between scenes, but ultimately it does what it says on the tin, so you can't complain.
Well, there we go. Can't complain, does what it said in the tin. That is Holiday Touchdown, a Bills love story, not just for Bills fans. And it's a certificate, probably a you, I'm thinking, because I think all Hallmark movies tend to be you, because there's literally no threat in them whatsoever. And it's showing on Sky Cinema. That is it for this final live show of the year. But next week... Is it next week that we're going to be scheduling our top 12 of the year? And trust me, there will be some surprises in there. Maybe, anyway, we'll just wait and see. It's our top 12. It's very idiosyncratic to our show, but I think as well there will be some melding with what we can expect to see in next year's awards season. Thank you so much to everyone for coming in.
Thank you.
And happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.